In your book, I love it when you tell the story of breaking the news to your parents of what your career intentions were. I feel like so many people can relate to this. Can you tell us that story?
Yeah, I grew up in a traditional household outside of Boston. My parents were high school sweethearts in Rhode Island. Wow. And my dad went on to be a lawyer his entire career at the same firm. And my mom stayed at home to raise 3 children. And they are incredibly loving and incredibly risk averse. And this rubbed off on me, and I went the straight path. I went to Harvard for college and Yale for law school. I get to law school, and I realized I have no interest in practicing the law. And I had an opportunity through some professors that I knew to go down to Latin America for what my parents were assuming was kind of like a Peace Corps-like sabbatical.
Okay.
And I get down to Chile, then Argentina, and I start falling in love with the culture. I learn tango, I root for the local soccer or football teams.
Oh, man.
And I stay a little longer. I end up working for this organization called Ashoka to support social entrepreneurs and the people with nonprofit ideas that are very innovative. And it occurred to me that no one's starting businesses. And at the time, microcredit was very popular. So you could get a $50 loan if you were starting a very small scale business. Or if you're one of the top 10 families, you can get a $50 to $100 million equity investment, but nothing in between. And it wasn't just money. It was, you didn't have any access to networks or to mentors. You couldn't fail and be taken seriously. So as I'm thinking about this, I have my aha moment in a taxi in Buenos Aires when I realize my driver has an engineering degree. And I can't believe he's driving a taxi when now, this is the mid-1990s, back home in the US, everyone is talking about Yahoo and Netscape and all of these entrepreneurial ideas. And if you have an engineering degree, you're one step ahead. So I asked him what he was doing driving a taxi, and he says, well, the government's not going to hire him. What else is he going to do? And we go back and forth, and he keeps using the word empresario, which means kind of big businessman, and it had the connotation of someone who had a Swiss bank account and government connections. And I was like, no, it's another word. What is it? And we realized that at that moment, there wasn't the word for entrepreneur or entrepreneurship in Spanish or Portuguese.
Wow.
And in fact, I will tell my story with my parents, but one of my favorite moments after launching Endeavor was 6 years later when the editor of the Portuguese-Brazilian dictionary called up our team and said, in part because of our work, he was adding the words emprendedor and emprendedorismo into the lexicon. So today, you can be an emprendedor, you can be an entrepreneur, but back then
your parents have to be impressed with that.
Well, let's go back in the story. So I come back, I start talking about supporting entrepreneurs in places where there's talent and dreams, but no appetite for risk and culture. And everyone thinks I'm mad. And they introduced me to this other kind of crazy kid named Peter who had set up companies in Russia and Eastern Europe. And the two of us have our first meeting to create Endeavor's business plan on a napkin. It's the only business plan we ever wrote was on a napkin.
Love it.
And it's in my parents' kitchen. My parents overhear us plotting a global organization, and they are not happy. So my dad tries first to dissuade me. He comes over and reminds me that I don't have a trust fund, that I'm going to have to be financially independent, and that while he's understood now that I'm not interested in practicing law, how about management consulting? And that doesn't go over very well.
Something a little safer.
Yeah, exactly. Investment banking, maybe. That's not working. So my mother, who's very on message about her children producing grandchildren for her, comes over and suggests that maybe getting on all these planes is not the best strategy for finding a spouse. And very kindly, she tells me that my eggs are not getting any younger.
Oh, that's always good to hear.
It's always good to hear. In fact, I told her when the stories came out of Apple and Facebook promoting these egg freezing programs for the young employees.
Oh, right.
I said, Mom, you were just 20 years ahead of your time.
Yeah, she had a great idea, right?
She's right. She's just ahead of herself. But anyway, so this is this moment that I recall very vividly. It was very stressful, and I thought, I have 2 paths. Do I do what's safe and expected, or do I do what's unsafe and unknown? And it's this juncture that I think every entrepreneur, every dreamer faces. It's this tension between fear and hope. And I remember I have to choose hope. But I have to also dedicate myself to helping other people get through similar moments when they're feeling scared and alone, to give themselves permission to move forward with their ideas. So that really was the beginning of Endeavor and my journey.